This is the place where I got my start in public life in what seems like ages ago. It's a place where the people of Sindh elected me 3 times to the Senate of Pakistan. And it's a place where I have received a lot of love and affection. And I'm so happy to see so many friends of mine here who have always welcomed me. So let me start first by saying, why do some countries get ahead and others don't? Because this is at the heart of where we are and where we want to go. As a student of development economics, I find that there are 3 things that separated those countries who got ahead and those who were left behind, especially after the Second World War. So maybe 15, 20 countries were able to raise their per capita incomes, from a few hundred to tens of thousands of dollars, while others stay where they are. I think there are 3 things that separate the countries, one set from the other. The first is that the countries that focused upon their people got ahead, and those that did not were left behind. The second is that countries that were able to sell their products to others and form alliances with the rest of the world were able to get ahead, and the others were left behind. And the third is that countries that relied upon the dynamism of their private sector were able to get ahead, and those that relied upon excessive government were left behind. So in our conversation today and in the Q&A, we have to think where we fit into these kind of broad lessons of development. The second point I want to do is to present to you again now as a student of Pakistan, what are the big facts about Pakistan that affect our economy and that either motivate or inhibit us from realizing our full potential. The first big fact about Pakistan is that in its 72 years of history, no single government has ever completed its term. So it has never ever been that an elected prime minister actually, it's the second big fact about Pakistan.
नाज़रीन, मुशीर ख़ज़ाना डॉक्टर अब्दुल हफीज़ शेख कराची में तकरीब से खिताब कर रहे थे। मुशीर ख़ज़ाना का पाकिस्तानी मईशत और बजट के मौजू पर मुज़ाकरे से इस वक्त खिताब कर रहे हैं। मुशीर ख़ज़ाना डॉक्टर अब्दुल हफीज़ शेख कराची में मईशत के हवाले से मुज़ाकरे की तकरीब से खिताब कर रहे हैं।
About continuity of policies, we always talk about predictability of policies and so on. So if we have a fundamental dysfunctionality in our politics, then obviously it casts a big shadow on the continuity of policies. Perhaps this phase of our history is over, but it has nevertheless marked and interplayed with the economy. The second point I want to present before you, which is a big fact of Pakistan, is that we have never had a trend of economic growth in Pakistan that has lasted more than 4 years. So in fact, we have never had a long-term growth trend. We have had these growth spurts, which maybe, in the 60s, 60 to 64, perhaps in the 80s, perhaps in the second, half of the 2000s. And why do these growth spurts fizzle out? Remember that China has had, 35, 40-year uninterrupted growth trend. Why is it, what is it about our country that we cannot sustain a growth spurt beyond 4 years? So this is the other question it's the other big fact that I want to present before you, and I want you to ponder on it, because we should jointly figure out what sort of a country we have and how do we want to take it forward. The third big fact about Pakistan is that the third big fact about Pakistan is that we don't like to do business with others. In the entire 70 years of our history, we have never been able to sell our products to others. And nobody else wants to come here and do business with us. And that is irrespective of who is running the country, which party is, or whether it is the military or the civilians or whatever. So what is it about us and our business community that we cannot form alliances, we cannot forge relationships, we cannot attract capital, and we cannot sell our products? This is, and so the fourth thing is we have excessive government. Every layer of our life, every facet of our, economy, even personal life is influenced by the heavy hand of the government. And it inhibits business activity at times. It puts barriers to entry for new businesses, and it extracts a high cost. So we have to think about that. And again, that has gone on and on. The government is in the business of setting policies, it's in the business of setting regulations, it is in the business of setting projects, it is in the business of running projects, it is in the business of financing projects. So that's where we are. And now I want to turn towards the current state of affairs. You see, this government came into its present role as the managers of the economy about 10, 11 months back. There's a big discussion going on as to why we are where we are. See? So let's figure out what the situation was that this government inherited, and then ask ourselves, okay, why are we here? First, some big facts about what the situation in the economy was. Pakistan's total debt and liabilities were 3,100 billion rupees. That's 3.1 trillion. Sorry, 31 trillion. Okay. 31,000 billion. So we have 31,000 billion debt and liabilities. And if you look at the foreign exposure, the total foreign borrowings were about $97 billion, roughly $100 billion. And the amount of interest just paid this year alone was 2,000 billion. 2 trillion were paid by this government this year alone for interest payments, and in the coming year that number will be 3 trillion, close to 3 trillion, 2.9 trillion. And to give you an idea, the revenue target is expected to be 5.5 trillion, and the interest payments are supposed to be 3 trillion. So this is on the debt side. If you look at the fiscal deficit, meaning the difference between how much we earn and how much we spend, was 2.3 trillion for just 1 year alone. And if you look at the further exposure, okay, how do we pay back this $100 billion of loans? We can by selling our products, by exports. Now, exports what is the growth rate of exports in the last 5 years? What's the percentage growth in exports in the last 5 years? 0%. So exports rose by 0% in 5 years. In fact, in 10 years, they have risen by roughly 0%. And the gap between what you are importing and exporting had reached a very high number, like $40 billion. So you have no capacity to generate the dollars to pay back your loans. You are importing virtually everything. Your exports are zero. You have a person in charge of the economy who thinks that the exchange rate is a sign of manhood and wants to keep it at a certain level. And this is where you are. So I think we have a very peculiar situation approaching, or rather,